Sahih al-Bukhari 1461. Narrated Ishaq bin Abdullah bin al-Talha. I heard Anas bin Malik saying, Abu Talha had more property of date palm trees gardens than any other amongst the Ansar in Medina, and the most beloved of them to him was Bayroha garden, and it was in front of the mosque of the Prophet. Allah's Messenger used to go there and used to drink its nice water. Anas added, when these verses were revealed, by no means shall you attain righteousness unless you spend, in charity, of that which you love. 3.92 Abu Talha said to Allah's Messenger, O Allah's Messenger, Allah, the Blessed, the Superior says, by no means shall you attain righteousness, unless you spend, in charity, of that which you love. And no doubt, Bayruha garden is the most beloved of all my property to me. So I want to give it in charity in Allah's cause. I expect its reward from Allah. O Allah's Messenger, spend it where Allah makes you think it feasible. On that Allah's Apostle said, Bravo! It is useful property. I have heard what you have said, O Abu Talha, and I think it would be proper if you gave it to your kith and kin. Abu Talha said, I will do so, O Allah's Apostle. Then Abu Talha distributed that garden amongst his relatives and his cousins. Sahih al-Bukhari 1462. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. On Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha, Allah's Messenger, p.b.u.h, went out to the Musalla. After finishing the prayer, he delivered the sermon and ordered the people to give alms. He said, O people, give alms. Then he went towards the women and said, O women, give alms, for I have seen that the majority of the dwellers of hellfire were you, women. The women asked, O Allah's Messenger, what is the reason for it? He replied, O women, you curse frequently, and are ungrateful to your husbands. I have not seen anyone more deficient in intelligence and religion than you. O women, some of you can lead a cautious wise man astray. Then he left. And when he reached his house, Zainab, the wife of Ibn Mas'udi, came and asked permission to enter. It was said, O Allah's Messenger, it is Zainab. He asked, which Zainab? The reply was that she was the wife of Ibn Mas'ud. He said, yes, allow her to enter. And she was admitted. Then she said, O Prophet of Allah, today you ordered people to give alms, and I had an ornament and intended to give it as alms, but Ibn Mas'udi said that he and his children deserved it more than anybody else. The Prophet replied, Ibn Mas'udi had spoken the truth. Your husband and your children had more right to it than anybody else. Sahih al-Bukhari 1463. Narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, there is no zakat either on a horse or a slave belonging to a Muslim. Sahih al-Bukhari 1464. Narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, there is no zakat either on a slave or on a horse belonging to a Muslim. Sahih al-Bukhari 1465. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Once the Prophet sat on a pulpit and we sat around him. Then he said, the things I am afraid of most for your sake, concerning what will befall you after me, is the pleasures and splendors of the world and its beauties which will be disclosed to you. Somebody said, O Allah's Messenger, can the good bring forth evil? The Prophet remained silent for a while. It was said to that person, what is wrong with you? You are talking to the Prophet, p.b.u.h, while he is not talking to you. Then we noticed that he was being inspired divinely. Then the Prophet wiped off his sweat and said, where is the questioner? It seemed as if the Prophet liked his question. Then he said, good never brings forth evil. Indeed, it is like what grows on the banks of a water stream, which either kill or make the animals sick, except if an animal eats its fill, the kadira, a kind of vegetable, and then faces the sun, and then defecates and urinates and grazes again. No doubt this wealth is sweet and green. Blessed is the wealth of a Muslim from which he gives to the poor, the orphans, and to needy travelers. Or the Prophet said something similar to it, no doubt, whoever takes it illegally will be like the one who eats but is never satisfied, and his wealth will be a witness against him on the day of resurrection. Sahih al-Bukhari 1466. Narrated Amr bin al-Harith. Zainab, the wife of Abdullah said, I was in the mosque and saw the Prophet, p.b.u.h, saying, O women, give alms even from your ornaments. Zainab used to provide for Abdullah and those orphans who were under her protection. So she said to Abdullah, will you ask Allah's Messenger, whether it will be sufficient for me to spend part of the zakat on you and the orphans who are under my protection? He replied, will you yourself ask Allah's Messenger? Zainab added, so I went to the Prophet and I saw there an Ansari woman who was standing at the door of the Prophet, with a similar problem as mine. Bilal passed by us and we asked him, ask the Prophet, whether it is permissible for me to spend the zakat on my husband and the orphans under my protection. And we requested Bilal not to inform the Prophet about us. So Bilal went inside and asked the Prophet regarding our problem. The Prophet, p.b.u.h, asked, who are those two? Bilal replied that she was Zainab. The Prophet said, which Zainab? Bilal said, the wife of Abdullah bin Mas'ud. The Prophet said, yes, it is sufficient for her, and she will receive a double rewards, for that one for helping relatives, and the other for giving zakat. Sahih al-Bukhari 1467. Narrated Zainab, the daughter of Salama, my mother said, O Allah's Messenger, shall I receive a reward if I spend for the sustenance of Abu Salama's offspring, and in fact they are also my sons? The Prophet replied, spend on them and you will get a reward for what you spend on them. Sahih al-Bukhari 1468. Narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger, p.b.u.h, ordered a person to collect zakat, and that person returned and told him that Ibn Jamil, Khalid bin al-Walid, and Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib had refused to give zakat. The Prophet said, what made Ibn Jamil refuse to give zakat though he was a poor man, and was made wealthy by Allah and his apostle? But you are unfair in asking zakat from Khalid, as he is keeping his armor for Allah's cause, for jihad. As for Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib, he is the uncle of Allah's apostle, p.b.u.h, and zakat is compulsory on him and he should pay it double. Sahih al-Bukhari 1469. Narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Some Ansari persons asked for something from Allah's Messenger, p.b.u.h, and he gave them. They again asked him for something, and he again gave them. And then they asked him and he gave them again till all that was with him finished. And then he said, if I had anything, I would not keep it away from you. Remember, whoever abstains from asking others, Allah will make him contented, and whoever tries to make himself self-sufficient, Allah will make him self-sufficient. And whoever remains patient, Allah will make him patient. Nobody can be given a blessing better and greater than patience. Sahih al-Bukhari 1470. Narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, by him in whose hand my life is, it is better for any one of you to take a rope and cut the wood from the forest, and carry it over his back and sell it, as a means of earning his living, rather than to ask a person for something and that person may give him or not.